Hi, everybody. I think we're live now. Let me know if you can see me and hear me. Just going to say hi to everyone in the chat. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Sue. Hi, Larissa, Pamela, and Lindsay. Let me know if you guys can see me and hear me okay. Just to make sure there's nothing weird going on with sound. Because there's no way for me to check that before I go live. No worries, Rachel. I'm glad you could make it. Tonight we're going to talk about sourcing holiday items. So stuff you guys can start looking for to start listing now, honestly. This time of year is a great time of year to start listing fall and winter stuff. You can honestly list it year round, but this is the time of year where you're really going to see a demand for it. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. If you have any questions, always feel free to put them in the chat for me. I'm happy to answer them. But I have 8 different items for you guys that you guys can look for to add to your Poshmark closets that people usually buy this time of year. So the first thing I want to talk about are vintage holiday sweaters. So obviously Christmas sweaters are a huge thing. People have, tacky Christmas sweater parties. That's a big deal. People want the real vintage tacky Christmas sweaters. So if you can find legit vintage tacky Christmas sweaters, those will sell for much, much more. And the more ridiculous they are, the more money you can get for them. So some of these sweaters will literally sell for $55, $65, $75 and up, just depending on what brand they are and how ridiculous they are, and embellishments, embroidery. I'm sure you guys have seen them. But one brand you want to look for in particular is Michael Simon. Michael Simon sweaters are very expensive, especially the vintage ones, and they will sell usually around $60 to $70 and above if you can find, really, really elaborate patterns on them. Hi, Kimberly. Welcome in. We are just starting to talk about items that you can source for the upcoming holiday season. But other than Christmas sweaters, they actually make these sweaters for, Halloween, Thanksgiving, New Year's, fall pattern ones. Don't limit yourself to just Christmas sweaters, because people will also buy the fall printed sweaters. They make a lot of teacher sweaters that have teacher patterns on them. Any kind of sweaters that you can find that have really elaborate embroidery and patterns and things on them, definitely pick those up. I find them a lot of times at the Goodwill outlet. It makes me kind of sad because I love the really elaborate sweaters, and it makes me sad that people donate them. But definitely pick them up whenever you find them, because they will sell for great money this time of year. The next thing I want to talk about, boots. So boots are one of those things that you can really make a good profit on, especially if they are leather or suede, like Ugg boots. Anything that is a real, genuine material. Steve Madden boots are really good to pick up. Like I said, the Ugg boots, Clark's boots are really great to pick up. Knee-high, thigh-high, ankle boots, flats, heels. It really doesn't matter as long as you can find them in good condition. We really I don't find a ton of shoes in good condition here. So the shoes that I usually find are usually retail arbitrage. So I try to look for ones that they have on clearance. Doc Marten boots will sell really well. Check your local Plato's and Style Encore having clearance sales for those. Hi, Donna. Welcome in. So glad so many of you guys are in the chat tonight. That's awesome. So next, you want to start picking up coats and jackets. I've been looking for these past few weeks because nobody else is really looking for them. It's still really hot outside, so this is the time of year you kind of want to start looking for them. if you're not looking for them all year round. If you can pick them up year round, that's great. But start like midsummer. Catherine asks, how much will you pay for boots? So our shoes, if I find them at thrift stores, usually range $5.99 to $7.99. If I can find them brand new with tags, it really depends on the brand. If you can find really good leather boots, you can pay up to $10, $15 if they're new with tags. Just, try to find the retail prices for them because you don't want to overpay too much. I wouldn't go above $15 ever, usually on just because it's always a risk the higher you get. But usually on average I pay, under $10. I try to stay under $10 unless I find something really exceptional. But you always want to pay the least amount as possible. How do you handle the weight on the coats? Aren't they usually over 5 pounds? I've never honestly shipped a coat that's over 5 pounds. If it is, you need to add that into your price because you'll have to pay, I think it starts at $4.99 or $5.99 to upgrade the label. But definitely weigh it ahead of time and make sure that it's not over 5 pounds. I just got this Lane Bryant coat that might be like, it might be like on the brink of being 5 pounds. But I don't think it's over 5 pounds. I've never had to deal with that, so I'm not really sure. I don't have to upgrade labels too often. But with a coat that's that heavy that to be over 5 pounds, you definitely want to add that into your price. I'm going to look up let me see if I can find the shipping label prices. Because it gets expensive if you have to upgrade the shipping labels, and I want to make sure I'm giving you the right price. You get to the Poshmark's website. Let's see. It doesn't tell me. So it starts at $3.99 to start upgrading the label. Okay, yeah, here we go. So at 6 pounds, it adds $3.99. At 7 pounds, it adds $7.98. At 8 pounds, it adds $11.97. 9 pounds, it adds $15.96. And at 10 pounds, it adds $19.95. So, yeah, that's something that you definitely want to be aware of. If you don't have a scale and you're getting these items that are heavier, like men's boots, coats, things like that, you definitely want to have a shipping scale on hand. And you need to know the exact weight of it because 7 pounds at $7.98, that's a lot to come out of your earnings. And that is the amount that comes out of your earnings. So, the customer is still paying the regular shipping cost. And then the $7.98 and up, $3.99 and up is going to come out of your earnings. So you really need to be aware of heavier, bulkier items, or if you're selling bundles, like if you sell a lot of jeans and someone comes in your closet and bundles, several pairs of jeans, that could easily go over 5 pounds pretty quickly. So you need to really be aware of when that's happening. And if you have somebody who does that, then you need to try and stop them and get them to separate it into 2 transactions. That's the best way I know of handling that situation. But if you have a coat that's over 5 pounds, then you need to add the shipping cost into the price of the coat. And you probably need to make some sort of note somewhere to remind yourself of the weight, like put the weight in your listing at the bottom. That way you'll know that, if somebody makes an offer or if you send an offer, you need to factor in the cost of that shipping label into the price of the item. Your UPS store will weigh for me. Yeah, but it's a lot easier if you can just weigh stuff at your house, I feel like, rather than having to go drive somewhere and get them to weigh it. Just make sure that if you have stuff that's going over 5 pounds, that you're aware of it. That way, you're not going to lose profit on your items if you're not including the shipping cost in the cost of your item. The next thing I want to talk about are leather purses. So this is kind of something I stumbled upon by accident because I found one at a thrift store for $1. And leather purses will actually sell for quite a good bit, and you can usually find them at thrift stores. Even if they're not like a well-known brand, they will still sell just because they are leather, and people look for a good quality leather bag, and they'll pay, $25, $35 and up for a good quality bag that's going to last them a while. So those are usually things that you can find at the store for pretty cheap, and then you can sell those for a good profit. The next thing I want to talk about are, I've kind of bunched these into a category altogether, but I want to talk about unique items. So whenever people start saying stuff like, oh, well, used stuff doesn't sell around Christmas time because people want new stuff, used stuff will absolutely sell around Christmas time. So you want to look for things like band t-shirts, concert t-shirts, things that are really unique in style, things that are vintage, stuff that people can't go to the store and buy, novelty ties, like vintage ties, like the Looney Tunes ties, the Disney ties, really unique things that you can't just go to the store and buy anymore. People love finding vintage items and something that's going to be a really great gift and mean something to somebody. So keep an eye out when you're in the thrift store, and if something catches your eye and you think, oh wow, that's really odd or that's really unique, that's usually the stuff you need to be buying, because that's the stuff that people will pay up for to have a one-of-a-kind gift for somebody. So you need to be looking, don't be afraid of vintage stuff, and it's going to take some trial and error, but vintage stuff is worth a good bit of money if you can find 80s and 90s stuff, 70s stuff. People love vintage t-shirts especially. So just keep an eye out when you are at your thrift stores for unique vintage stuff. Let me look at the chat. Also, I want to check my notifications to make sure. Just making sure everybody who needs links are in here. All right, and if you guys have questions, make sure you put them in the chat for me. The next thing I want to talk about are accessories. So you want to try and look for, fall and winter accessories that you can add to your closet that people can bundle. So during this time of year, people really like the plaid blanket scarves, the really big scarves that you see the fashion bloggers wearing. They're shaped like a square, and then you can like bunch them around your neck, and they're just really, really big, elaborate scarves. Especially if they look like the Burberry print, that beige and red Burberry plaid. People love that print. Other things you can look for are beanies, hats, and boot socks. Boot socks usually do pretty well. If you can find them, people love, especially if they have like lace and buttons, and they're really cute colors. So if you find any of these accessories, definitely pick them up. They're usually really cheap at thrift stores, especially hats. They usually have them for 99 cents. Belts, you always need to check the belt section. One time I found a Prada belt in the belt section for $3.99. So you always want to check the belt section and see what is over there. Sometimes I don't over there, but sometimes I do. So if you can find leather belts, Vineyard Vines, Ralph Lauren, brands like that are just really good quality for cheap prices, definitely pick them up. Yes, you definitely pick up the blanket scarves. They're great. And people will buy them. And if you guys, want to look into buying stuff wholesale, buying accessories wholesale is a great way to start because they're usually pretty inexpensive. So those are good things that you can buy in multiple quantities to have in your closet so people can make bundles. Next thing I want to talk about is college and NFL football apparel. So keep in mind that even though it's fall and winter, it is very much football season, and people are actively looking for the football apparel, their team apparel. People buy this for gifts, especially if they can find, vintage football apparel. Look for jackets, jerseys, pullovers, sweatpants, zip-up jackets, hats, anything you can find that has college and NFL on it. And this will be, if you can find your local college and local NFL apparel, people from all over the country are constantly looking for that stuff. We have USC and Clemson here. So, when I find really good stuff, usually I'll pick up Champion brand stuff and Nike stuff and Under Armour because I sell that to people all over the country because there are people who go to college and then they move away, but they still support their team and they're constantly looking for apparel that matches their team. So they will be shopping for that kind of stuff. Barbara says, what do you think about styling your items? I'm afraid at times because your picture shows items that are not part of the sale. So you can absolutely do like flat lays. I wouldn't spend a ton of time doing styled flat lays just because you can absolutely sell stuff, with just a clear photo of it. But if you want to style something, you absolutely can, especially if it's with stuff that is also available for sale in your closet. You can just put a little disclaimer in your listing that says, that the other pieces are also available in your closet. Just be careful, don't spend a ton of time making styled flat lays to the point to where it slows you down from your listing. But if you have stuff that you want to put together in outfits and things like that, absolutely do it. And, that way people can see it together and then they'll know that the rest of it's available in your closet and they can bundle it. That was a really good question. Let's see. Next thing I want to talk about are cocktail dresses. So this time of year, you have winter formals, you have college formals, you have homecoming, you have holiday parties, you have a lot of people get married this time of year as well, just because it's starting to cool off. So definitely start stocking up on your cocktail dresses. It wouldn't hurt also to start, if you find prom dresses and things like that you can afford that are like good prices, definitely start stocking your closet with those because people have all kinds of formal events during the fall and winter time, and you need to have these types of things in your closet. And some of them might not sell till prom season, but it's good to start stocking up on them now so that you'll have them, as people need them as we go into Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. So you want to look for, anything with sequins that you can have for all of these events, and then that'll lead up to New Year's. Another thing you want to look for, people are really into the holiday themed graphic t-shirts and sweatshirts, things that say stuff about pumpkin spice and fall and Thanksgiving and Christmas and reindeers, anything that has really cute sayings on them that could be, worn to kind of casual holiday events. A lot of people are doing more casual holiday events these days, but people get really, really into the t-shirts. So definitely keep your eye out for those. Does anybody have any questions about anything I've said so far? Let's see. But yeah, back to flat lays. When I first started, I used to spend a ton of time doing flat lays. And it was because, I had these items that were from around my house and I was trying to really just make them look more appealing to customers. So if you have items that, you've sourced that may not look so great by themselves, you can use accessories and, you know, shoes and scarves and just kind of make your own little pretty picture. And doing that sometimes will help the item become more appealing to a customer if they can see it, kind of styled. And then if you don't want to do flat lays, you can actually put stuff on your mannequin and then add jewelry, scarves, things like that to your mannequin to make it look better. A lot of times I have added like a necklace or something nice or a jacket or just pair it with something. And then I'll always put a disclaimer if what I'm styling it with isn't available, I'll put a disclaimer in my listing that says that piece isn't available for sale or not included. How much should we stock up on each of these items you've listed, like a ballpark number? I mean, that's really going to depend on your budget that you have for your inventory. In terms of the Christmas sweaters, I would probably get as many as you can because those will sell for $40 and up. You can find vintage ones. The more accessories you have in your closet, the more likely people are going to be to bundle them. So those are kind of your upsell items. Those are kind of like your extras that you have in your closet. So, there's not a limit in terms of you can never have too many things in your closet. So that's really just going to depend on your budget and what you have to spend on inventory. I've seen flat lays with decorative items like leaves or seashells. Yeah, that's a great way to catch people's eye. You can do shells, leaves, flowers. People get like different colored rugs. People get different, like Dollar Tree has a ton of little home decor trinkets that you can add to photos that will catch people's eye. And you can use that as part of like your branding as well. So, whatever you've chosen as your branding for your closet, if you've chosen that, you can absolutely, work that into your photos and kind of give your photos some sort of like signature look. Because on Poshmark, Poshmark encourages that. They encourage you to really go above and beyond with your branding and not just have, plain pictures. The balance is not letting, doing all of these things with the styling take away from your listing. Like you don't want those things to slow you down. So if you can figure out a way to do your accessories and kind of set them in place to where you can interchange your clothing items in and out and not have to rearrange everything every single time you take a photo, that would be best because you want to be as fast as possible when you're photographing things. You don't want to have to stop on every item and rearrange stuff, and then that's going to cost you a ton of time. So you don't want to lose time, but at the same time, you want your photos to, be eye-catching to people. Let me see. Yeah, I used to actually take a long time styling my photos just because I felt like that's what I had to do to get things to sell because I didn't really have, like name brand stuff. I had to do what I could to get people to want to buy the stuff. So, and I used to work, I've worked in merchandising at a ton of places. So, in boutiques like now, like if you follow Red Dress Boutique or you follow Hopes in Georgia, they actually have a designated flat lay stylist person. Like that's somebody's job. If you go to their Instagram accounts, like I'll pull up Red Dress so you can see. And these are great places to get inspiration from as well for your flat lays. So like Red Dress, like you can go onto Red Dress and look at all their flat lays. Like this is somebody's job to sit here and make these flat lays. And they look amazing. So, if you need inspiration for your flat lays, definitely go and follow the boutiques on Instagram. Like, this is a great way to showcase your items in your closet, especially if you can use other items that you have for sale. Let's see. And then you can use an app like Snapseed or some, just any free editing app to just kind of brighten your photos a little bit and make them pop. Everything just looks so good. Like that's going to catch somebody's eye. Are infinity scarves still a trend, or are they becoming a little passe? Also, can you recommend ways to arrange scarves for photos without a mannequin? I would say infinity scarves are still, I don't want to call them a trend, but I'm pretty sure people still buy them. I live in the South, so like we wear scarves, but I feel like not as much as people up north do, but like people up north actually need scarves, whereas we down here wear them as more like a fashion accessory. But I feel like people up north really like infinity scarves because they're like cozy and they actually serve a purpose. So I would definitely pick them up if you can find them, cheap enough. I wouldn't spend a ton of money on scarves. That's definitely something that you want to pick up at the Goodwill outlet, like with ties and, other accessories and things like that. A way to arrange scarves for photos without a mannequin. So if you have like a pretty, like the white fuzzy rug that everyone has, you can kind of like arrange it on that and just kind of fluff it to where it's not just laid out flat on the ground. Just kind of fluff it to where you can tell in the picture that it kind of has texture in the picture. That way it'll kind of look like it's around someone's neck, even though it's not. Or you could like hang it on the wall, maybe. If it's like a long scarf, you could absolutely like hang it on a hook on the wall so that it'll hang down and people can tell how long it is. These are great questions. I like answering your questions. Let's see. But you definitely want to start looking for those accessories because they're super easy to list, they're quick to list, and those are upsell items for your closet that people can add to their purchases. But you don't want to price them, super cheap. Like even if you don't want this much for them, don't price them under like $15. You can do like a little sign or something that says, add on to a purchase for however much you want for it. Pashmina scarves are really popular. I used to work at this boutique where we would do monogramming, and that was probably one of the most popular things we did was the pashmina scarves, and you can usually find those pretty cheap on eBay and Amazon. You need to get the fluffy rug. So mine is technically not a rug. I don't know where it is right now. It's technically not a rug. What I did is I went to Joann Fabrics and I had them cut like 3 yards of the white faux fur for me. And so that way I have like a giant, it's literally a giant square. So I can, use it for whatever I need to use it for. And you can use a coupon on it if you get it from Joann. Am I using a ring lighting or backdrops? I have a ring light, and then I also have the box lights. So it really depends on the item. Sometimes I'll use all of them at the same time. If I'm just doing like hanging something on a wall, though, I'll usually do the ring light for stuff hanging on the wall. If I'm doing a flat lay, I'll do the box lights or all three of them. Do you prefer flat lay over a hanger? Personally, I prefer the hangers just because I can go faster with hangers. If it's something that I need to show the fit on, I will put it on a mannequin. But the mannequin slows me down as well. So I really prefer using, just a nice wooden hanger. And, I haven't seen it affect my sales or anything. But I will do flat lays for cover shots on jeans and pants and things like that. And then obviously things like shorts, I'll do flat lays for it because it's really hard to hang stuff like that up. Sue says, I like the idea of upselling. When I buy, I hate paying the shipping on one item, so I always look for something to add to the bundle. Yeah, and people, on Poshmark, I feel like that's how people shop. I always try to look for multiple items in someone's closet because the shipping is pretty, I don't want to say it's expensive because it's a great price for the priority shipping, but people will be more likely to buy from you if they can buy multiple things from you and only pay the shipping once. My ring light isn't very good. I think maybe it was too small in size. I think mine is 18 inches. I think that's what it is. Let me look it up. I think that was the biggest one they had. But yeah, you definitely want to get a good size ring light that can go around the entire item. You don't want to get the smaller one because that's not going to be effective. It'll make like weird shadows on it. Let's see. Let me find it. Yeah, it looks like the biggest one is 18 inches. But if you're limited on space, the ring light is amazing. I still use my box lights because that's what I started out with. I like to have as much lighting as possible. Put this in the chat. That's the ring light. Let's see. This is so silly, but I have one of those hanging mannequins and I can't stand showing it with no pants. Yes, please put pants on your mannequins. That is like a huge pet peeve of mine. And I know people who've been selling for years and, they try to be like so professional, but then they'll have a mannequin that has like no bottoms on it. And I'm just like, how does this not bother you? Because I'm sure it bothers customers. Like, you can't have naked mannequins. That's like not a good thing. I bought an Hermes belt. Turned out fake, but since belted blazers are big this year, I'm going to pick up blazers and follow this trend. Thrift store always has a ton of them. Yes, definitely always check out the blazers and coat section. Simone, so first, welcome in. Glad you could make it. But the mannequin is good whenever you need to show the fit of something. So if something has like a cinched waist, or if it's belted, or if it's flowy, that's when I try to put it on a mannequin because putting it on a hanger just isn't really like effective. Let's see, Randy. So I have two public closets. The first one is Sydney L, and the other one is Sydney L2. I have several closets. Some I don't put out in the public because I keep. I do a lot of consignment items for people, so I don't put those like in my public closets. but my two that I share with people are Sydney L and Sydney L2. And I'm trying to get more stuff moved into the Sydney L2 closets because I'm trying to keep my consignment items like separate from my not personal items, but things that I buy myself. Yes, please put pants on your mannequins. Like, I used to work at J. Crew, so I worked under the visual merchandising manager, and she was like crazy. She was just very, very picky about the mannequins. And one day, I guess a customer wanted to buy something, and the only one we had left was on the mannequin in the front of the store window, because the J. Crew store was like in an outside mall. So whoever took the item off of the mannequin in the storefront window didn't put anything on the mannequin to replace it. And she walked in the store and lost her mind. It's too funny. But yes, like I can't deal with people like not putting stuff on their mannequins. I can't do it. Even like my dress form, if I have like a sweater or something like that, I need to take a picture of, I'll put like a tank top or something on underneath it just to make it look more complete and not like it's just a sweater on a naked mannequin. It kind of drives me crazy. Like, I'm just weird about my pictures, I guess. Let's see. Love to hear more about doing consignment for folks. I have a few people asking, wasn't sure how to make money doing that for them. So for consignment, I usually do 50-50. I will say be very careful who you accept consignment items from. It can get to be a little overwhelming, but the biggest part of it is really setting people's expectations, because a lot of people don't understand, it takes time to list everything, and then you need to make them understand that stuff is not just going to sell overnight. And then it's not just going to be, hundreds, thousands of dollars for them overnight. I also will say I do not like to accept like designer items, like, I like Louis Vuitton and Coach, and purchase like purses that they want to get hundreds of dollars for, just because, if you get scammed or something happens, I don't want to be liable for that. So I try to just stick to not like bread and butter clothing, like good clothing, but just don't take super expensive items from people, because then, you will be liable for those items if something happens. So just be very, very careful. Most of my consignment clients are people that I know personally, or like people's parents that I know personally. So just be very, very careful with it. You have to be super organized, and it's a lot of work, but it's a way to get, the higher end inventory. Bye, Rachel. Have fun at band practice. That sounds like fun. Yeah, Randy, definitely post the picture in the group later. That would be hilarious. When you do consignment, do you actually have the inventory? Yes, so you have to take the inventory and you keep the inventory. So you have to photograph it and everything. And then, you don't want to give the inventory back to them and then like something happened to it, or they wear it and get it stained and something like that, and then somebody buys it, and then you're responsible for canceling that, because you don't really want to cancel stuff. So yeah, you have to be very, very careful about consignment and who you take consignment items from. And then you need to have, honestly, ideally, you need to get somebody to write up like a legal agreement to have people sign, just saying that, you're not liable if something happens. And it's always good to have in writing what you've agreed to pay them and when you've agreed to pay them. That's another thing. You need to let them know like how often you're going to pay them. And then I prefer to just put consignment items on Poshmark, because if you put them on eBay, then you have to worry about like returns and things like that. And it's also much easier to deal with like the fees and stuff on Poshmark because they're so easy. Are you using thank you cards, business cards, or postcards in your packages? I have business cards. I have thank you cards. I have like several postcards that we got at like Posh last year that I found the other day that I'm using. Really just anything that I can find. I try to be, I don't like to order excessive things, so I try to use what I have. I don't really think it's a huge deal, like, what you want to use in your packages. If you want to order, probably the cheapest thing to do is to go on Vistaprint and order like business card size cards as thank you cards. Like I have little business cards that I ordered from Vistaprint, and they just say, thank you for your purchase, and it has my closet name on them and my logo. Do you trust Tyvek envelopes or only padded polys? I've used the Tyvek envelopes before. I ordered some. They're supposed to be waterproof. Like I never had an issue using those, but mostly if I'm using polys, I order my poly mailers from Pack and Ship. I really like her poly mailers. I've never had an issue with them. A lot of times I'll use the boxes from the post office that are free if I have bigger items. But I've never had an issue with the Tyvek envelopes or any of the USPS supplies for that matter. I like the padded flat rates because I can order those because I also use those. If I sell jeans on eBay, I have to ship them those. So it's easier just to order one thing and have that on hand rather than ordering those in the Tyvek envelopes. All right, guys, if you do not have any more questions, I'm going to end this here and get ready for the webinar at 8, which I think most of you are in on. So any last minute questions before I go do that? And you can always post questions later in the group if you think of any. Yes, Kimberly. Pack and Ship. I actually got to meet her at eBay Open in Vegas, and she is just the sweetest person. And I have been ordering stuff from her for a long time, like a few years now before I met her. And she's actually just up the road I think she's in Augusta, South Carolina. So it's nice to be able to kind of support somebody local. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to try and do these live shows weekly for you. So if this is a good time, like let me know if a different time would be better. But like Thursday night is usually a good time for people. That's great, Randy. I'm glad you're doing so well. Just keep listening. You'll make more. All right, guys, I'm going to end this here, and I will see, I think, most of you in the webinar. So I will see you guys in just a little bit. Thanks so much for watching.